Hello and welcome. So today I'd like to talk about why I don't have children, and I'm recording this video in World Childless Week. So this week is all about acknowledging and noticing and seeing and celebrating women who don't have children, and making the point that we are all worthy, whether we have children or we don't have children. And I wanted to talk about my journey to not having children, which is a complex one. So I'm going to try and keep this short, but that's not going to be easy. But if you'd like more information about my journey to not having children, you might like my book, How to Fall in Love, or I have lots of blog posts on this topic on my blog, From 40 with Love. And I've also written some articles in the press. In The Guardian, for example, I feel grief and relief about not having children. So you can check those out as well. But I don't have children for a number of complex reasons, which go way back to my childhood, to what I saw about motherhood and parenthood in my family of origin, and through some decisions I made based on what I saw. So I understood from looking at my mum's experience that having children was not a good idea, that I would be broke, that I would have to derail my career, or that it would derail my career, that it would cause breakdown in my relationship, so divorce if I was married, or relationship breakdown, that it would destroy my body, and that it would be an almighty struggle, and also that there wouldn't be any joy in it. There wouldn't be any joy. And, that's not my entire experience, but that they are the messages that I formed based on what I saw. And of course, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want that for my life. And I'm of the generation of women, sort of second wave feminism. We were all told to go out there and pursue our careers and be independent and make our own money. And I ran with that, and I totally ran with that. So I was a straight A student. I did really well at school, head girl, went to Oxford University, degree in modern languages, French and Spanish, travelled all over the world on my own, ended up living in Mexico, got a job as a journalist in Mexico with Bloomberg, moved to Brazil to work for Reuters, moved to London to work for Reuters, worked in Parliament, travelled with the Prime Minister. So I took that message and I ran with it. Freedom, independence, my own money, my own life. I totally ran with it. And it was only, I suppose, and there were other reasons why I made those choices, of course, and you might need to read my book to hear about those reasons. But, I was running, I was escaping from myself and my feelings, from my pain. I was binge eating, I was binge drinking, I was self-harming in other ways, I was overweight, I was a workaholic. I burnt out in my job, long story. But going back to the motherhood question, it was only in my mid-30s that I started to think, hang on a minute, what about children? And that was around the time my dad died. And I became aware of the circle of life and that I didn't have one. There was nothing coming on after me. It was just me. There wasn't a partner. There weren't any children. It was just me, and the line would end with me. On my side, my brother had children, but on my side, that there was no circle of life. And also, I suppose, the loneliness that I felt at the time that my dad died and how hard that was. So then, by then, I was mid-30s, and as I went into my late 30s, I thought, yes, of course I want children. That's what everyone else is doing. I must have children. The whole of society is having children, or, this is what I must do. And I put a lot of pressure on my relationships during that time. If I was dating someone, I needed to know immediately if we were going to have kids together. And that put a lot of pressure on those relationships and broke them in some cases. And this is very common with women I work with as a coach who are in their late 30s or perhaps early 40s, looking for love, trying to date, trying to beat the biological clock. And it is a difficult place to be, and I know that. And I support many women in that place. And I was in that place myself. I considered having children on my own. I did a fertility test at a clinic in London. I was also researching articles for the press. for a magazine, and I was researching a book, and I was thinking about, do I do children? Do I try and have children on my own? And I decided very clearly that that was a no in my case, because just because of my mum's experiences, I felt that I would be right back where she was, and that probably wasn't the case. I had my degree, I had my career, I had my money, I had a flat, so it was very different. It was very different, but I still remembered how hard it had been for my mum, and I didn't want to do that. And then, around 40, which is when I started my blog, From 40 with Love, I was so aware of the biological clock, but also becoming aware of the fact that how come none of my relationships have worked out? How come all my relationships have failed? And I really started looking into that in my personal development work, in my therapy. And I met my now husband. I met him when I was 40. At the time, he said he didn't want children. And although there was an attraction, I thought, no way, I want children. I'm 40, I've got time. But at that point, I still wasn't aware of this deep ambivalence that ran through me, these messages that I picked up from my childhood. I wasn't conscious of them. They were in my subconscious. So there was an ambivalence. And I've talked about being childless through ambivalence. There was this ambivalence of, I want children, but I'm not sure I do want children because of all those traps that my mum had and the struggle that she experienced. And so with my partner, I was on and off, and I kept leaving him. And then we had a summer when we committed, and I thought, okay, let's give it a go. And it was loads of fun, and I shelved the whole baby angst for a while. And we had a lovely time together. And at the end of that summer, I thought, right, okay, let's get together. And he must have changed his mind by now about children. And he hadn't. He was very honest and sincere with me, did not want to mislead me. And I ended the relationship again, and I was devastated. And more and more after that, I started to explore this idea of ambivalence, the idea that perhaps I didn't actually want children because of the messages that I'd picked up. And I was torn. And it was only in my early to mid 40s that I started to understand that children actually bring joy into your life. So I saw that perhaps with my brother and his kids, and with people around me. They were having fun with their children, as well as it being hard work. They were having fun, and I don't think I knew that was possible. So that realization came late, and I feel sad about that. So now we are in I'm 43, and I decide to commit to my partner, and we decide to put 2 feet in, and I just think what will be with the children thing. And we didn't try, and I didn't get pregnant, and we don't have children. And as I have written in that article for The Guardian, and as I've written on my blog and in my book, there is grief and there is relief. There is grief for the circumstances of my life, which led me to be where I am today. There's grief about those messages that I picked up, that I didn't really realise that children could bring joy and not just struggle. But there's also acceptance of my path. It's very difficult to get all this across in this video, but there's also acceptance of my path, that was my journey, that was my story. And I try and choose every day acceptance and wanting what I have rather than thinking about all the things that I don't have. I don't always get that choice. I don't always make that choice. Sometimes I really struggle, but I try and make that choice. And I'm 50 now, and everything right now in my orbit is all about the menopause, and that's an interesting conversation, going through the menopause without having had children. When our periods stop, these periods that were designed to help us to have kids, designed to produce offspring, then that we've had them for decades, and then they stop and we haven't had kids. So that's interesting. That's probably going to bring up grief Maybe it'll be a liberation. I don't know. Interested to know if you've been through that journey and how that was for you, if you are childless and have been through menopause. So yeah, and today I try and choose to love what I have. So I have my husband, I have my home by the beach, I have a puppy now, which is a huge challenge, and yeah, gives me a little taste of parenthood, but it's really challenging, and also joyful, mustn't forget that. Hugely joyful. And yeah, I have my work. So I'm writing a novel. I have my book. I'm writing another book. And my coaching work and my retreats. And I do nurture. Not only myself, because that's really important, but I nurture other women through my work, and men. And I suppose that going forwards is my objective, my intention, to be more of service to people, to step into my power, to use my voice, to use my gifts, and to be of service to people, particularly women who identify with me and my journey. So perhaps who are childless, perhaps approaching menopause, or women who are younger and who want to make a choice about children. And just a couple of things. So if you are still trying to decide whether to have children or not, perhaps you don't have a partner, perhaps you're wondering whether to go it alone, perhaps you do have a partner, wherever you are, what I suggest, and I remember saying this to someone on one of my retreats a few years ago, that you make the choice based on your truth, that you try and do as much healing and personal development work first so that you can find your truth, so that your decision isn't based on the faulty messages that you received, or the poor parenting that you received, or the wounds that you received in your childhood, so that you heal those as much as possible, so that you can get to a place in time, perhaps, to have children where you can make a choice based on your truth. On your truth, not on those messages from your childhood and not on the pressure from society, but on your truth. And for those of you who are beyond that now, who are childless, not by choice, perhaps by circumstance, social infertility because you haven't met a partner, and I can just say on that if that is you and you're childless not by choice and you are single and you don't want to be, and you are lonely and you need support, please reach out. I have wonderful, wonderful communities. I have a retreat, lots of retreats, some retreats coming up, courses. So I have found from my experience that having a family, creating a family, having a partner, and then having a puppy, creating that family has really helped with my grief about the life that I haven't lived. And that isn't to say that we need to have those things in order to feel content, but it has helped me. So if you are, beyond having children now and struggling with the grief around not having children, just a few things, and, get in touch, but, and so I can help you a bit more, but just a few things. You might need to go through various stages of grief, and that might include anger. It might include anger towards your parents, towards your family of origin. It might include anger towards yourself, and hopefully we can replace that with self-forgiveness and self-love. So when we go through the anger stage, we can then get to the forgiveness stage of others and ourselves, and we can get to acceptance of others and ourselves. And for me, it's about choosing every day to be grateful for what I have, it's not easy. I don't say that as some sort of gratitude guru. I say that as someone who absolutely struggles to want what I have, who absolutely struggles not to think about the things that I don't have. But I try and choose, and if I can have a mindful morning, if I can do some daily rituals that connect with myself, connect me spiritually, connect me with my purpose for that day, if I can find that gratitude and sense of purpose, then I will have a good day. And my grief or my questions about my life, they won't pull me down. So this hasn't been a short video in the end. As I said, it's a complex, complicated story. But I'd like to hear yours. And, there are lots of forums, especially this week in World Childless Week, where you can hear other people's stories and where you can share your own. So check out worldchildlessweek.net. Also have a look at Gateway Women, Jodie Day's organisation, which is a really amazing, supportive organisation for women who are childless not by choice. And then, if you are someone who would like some support with self-love, with healing, and healing those blocks to a healthy relationship so that you can form that family, and it may look different to the one you wanted or the one you expected to have, but it will be your family, your unique family, then get in touch with me, Catherine at catherinebaldwin.com, or take a look at my book, How to Fall in Love, or my work, my retreats, my coaching. Thank you so much for watching, and we are all worthy. And if you're a mum, well done. I know it's not easy for everyone. It's a struggle. And if you are grieving that loss, honor that. And I'm going to wrap up now because my puppy's about to bark. Take care. Bye.